Leslie, and this is Sloane.
Hello.
Today we're joined by Molly Mendoza,
Hi.
an artist, cartoonist. She just came out. It just came out, right? Oh God,
No, it's not
it's
out
not out yet.
until
Okay,
July 22nd. Yeah.
she will be coming out with a new book from No Brow called Skip. And we're just gonna talk to her about her work and her book today.
Yes.
Yay! Welcome, Molly.
Hi. So cool.
So Skip is beautiful.
Oh my
Yeah, it's very
First of
beautiful.
all.
Thank you.
Let's get that out of the way.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that too is just like No Brow making sure that that book looks good. I mean, I don't know. They make a really pretty book. So,
They
Yeah, I
do like
wanna
a
get-
pretty book.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where to start. I kind of want to know about your background in comics because I know you went to which school did you go to?
I went to PNCA, Pacific Northwest College.
PNCA, right? Okay, cool. And did you go for just illustration or what did you study while you were there?
Yeah, so I transferred in from a community college in Arizona called Superior Mountain Community College. And while I was there, I was actually, I drew, but I was studying photography because it was kind of like one of the only art classes available. And then transferred over, I was thinking about doing GFA. And then I met with the head of the illustration department, Martin French. And this was all like back in like 2011. They were like, oh, like you're actually pretty good at drawing. Like maybe you should consider illustration. And so I did. And while I was there, though, I still kind of dabbled in every other medium I could get my hands on. Like I did printmaking. I took a video installation class. I took animation class. Like, I don't know. I just kind of like using a lot of different mediums, I guess. But comics, like, I think I did. So when I was in high school, I would be on this board online called like Tegaki.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was
Classic.
We're very
hours
familiar.
on there. Oh my God. Oh man, I was like obsessed and I would come
It's so
home.
hard.
School.
It's so hard to use.
Yeah, it is. But I kind of was like obsessed with the challenge of being like, okay,
Yeah.
you have like this limited palette and like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so I would make these comics with like these OCs of mine and like my friends' OCs, and they'd be set to like song lyrics. So I would use like the main image as like the cover and then each of the comment tiles. And if people don't know, like, yeah, you can handwrite the comments. And so I would make these comics. Oh my God, it's kind of embarrassing, but I remember I did one to like the scientist from Coldplay. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
Classic.
How old was I? I was like
Classic.
15, like so moody, just crying to Coldplay.
Hey, we didn't have people telling us what was cool or not. We just kind of like
Yeah.
went with
Did whatever we
Yeah.
wanted. Isn't that cool? Like,
it. Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's kind of where I started. But then, while I was in school, I made comics and I made this comic. I like making horror comics. I made this comic called
Ooh.
Two Parts, and yeah, it was kind of autobiographical, but it was kind of how like when you're younger, things are so much bigger than what they seem. So it was about like spats and fights, but on a grander scale, and then like some of my first shows were like Stumptown Comics and Line Work and Zine Symposium here in town. My partner Sage Howard and we make a comic together called Singer's Cave. They write it and I illustrate it. And then recently I did a comic for Shortbox called The Worst, and Zainab had me was like, hey, you should try to do something where it's like these single page comics, and they were interested to see what I would do with like those like just splash pages, like how would you do that. And they also use I would always do like these very Oh my gosh, a dog.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. So cute. I would always do these like comics that didn't have a lot of words. It would just be maybe poetry over the images. And that was my first time trying to make a comic with real dialogue bubbles, because I think it just stemmed from that lyrical comics that I would do with Coldplay and do crap like that. And then to like finally like, okay, I'm actually going to like establish some characters and some story. And yeah. And there's been more that I've made on my own, just like little things for shows and stuff. But yeah, and then here we are with Skip, and yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I'm so curious because I feel like your style is very unique, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint like what your inspirations are, especially like the manner of like how you're composing a page. Do you want to talk a little bit about like your process with putting together a page and just like your philosophy with like comicking in general?
Yeah, totally. So whenever I'm making like a comic, I kind of like look at it really, again, like lyrically, like so much of it kind of happens as I'm making it, if that makes sense. Like I don't do pencils really. Like I don't do, like I have thumbnails. I know where stuff is going to go, but I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, because I kind of see it as like one big image, rather than individual panels. And then I see that image then as like, it's combined with the next image on the next page, and that's one big image, and then there's the image on the next page after that. So I've always kind of approached it with the like with that in mind, I guess, like that there's going to be these transitions, these flows, so that it feels like one unified image.
Kind of like composing an illustration.
Yeah, totally. Page. No. Yeah, definitely. And I think that is because of my background. I do a lot of editorial illustration, and I make a lot of paintings. But so I think I kind of have this like subconscious like approach to when I'm working on a comic as well. A comic that I had like seen that I had read recently was that that I thought was really interesting, because it's just kind of like one panel almost every single page, but it was that comic Here. And I'm trying to think of which Richard Maguire. But it was like really experimental in that way, kind of. And so I think like that's the same way that they kind of like see each page as like an opportunity to do a bunch of weird stuff, is kind of the same way that I guess I approach it. Or even
totally.
Or even that comic, like The Making of, like I think that one is one too, where it's just like all this like just so many opportunities, like make these big paintings and these like cool sprawling like looks and stuff. And I kind of wanted to have that in Skip, but I didn't want it to be too cluttered. And that's always been one of the biggest critiques about my work, is like, it's so busy, like chill out. Like like it's like, okay, I gotta like rein it in, so I have to be really calculated in that way. Yeah.
No, I like it. I like the busyness, because like, I don't know, I feel like not a lot of cartoonists can do that and actually keep a composition going without it being just like a blob. Like, and somehow you pull it off. Well, not somehow, you're just skilled. You're skilled at doing that. But I think that's like, it's really unique. It's very
now
cool.
that you mentioned like the Brecht Evans comparison, like the making of being inspirational, I can kind of see it, just because I haven't thought about him in so long, but like I love his work. And he has a really good way of kind of like compartmentalizing the busyness. So it still has like a cohesive narrative, and like it still flows, but it's still very beautiful and like illustrative.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. And it's also like I'm like a total like sad girl sometimes. I wish I wasn't, but I'm very emotional. I mean, I'm also like a mad person and a happy person and all these other things, but I definitely use comics to process emotions. And when reading the making of, especially, like there was just like, there's just these moments that are like so colorful and gorgeous, but just so like, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is pathetic. And you're like not the artist, the character, but like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like this person is being so sad. Like what is going on? Or like all these characters around them are really sad and, but interesting at the same time. And, that there's like one drawing that's just like burned in my memory from that book. And it's like when like there's like an older person in a room, and it's just one really simple drawing, but there's like a hand waving, but everything else is drawn kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like wiggly and like simple and quick. And it just like makes, like, I saw that page and I just like cried, and I was like, why am I crying? But yeah, I don't know. I like work that evokes like a mood or a feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
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 That's cool.
That's cool.
Do you want to
tell us a little bit about what Skip is about, and then maybe what kind of brought about the story?
Yeah, totally. So Skip is about these two like younger individuals who are from different dimensions, and they're traveling between dimensions together, and running into all these different like scary situations, funny situations. They're just on an adventure. But the big thing is that they're totally avoiding like all their responsibilities back home, or they're avoiding like some sort of hurt or realization or trauma, or they're trying to escape. And in the process of them going on this adventure together, they kind of learn about each other's problems and realize that they're both kind of, like almost like meant to help each other in a way. Like they each have aspects of their personality that can help the other. They're two sides of the same coin. And in kind of like realizing that, they're able to go finally leave and like confront what they've been leaving behind in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it came about in a weird way. Nobrow found my thesis work online. It's free. It's you can get on Gumroad. It's called Voyage.
Okay.
And it's a 48-page like visual narrative kind of thing. It's not really a comic, but it's like all these. It's like a picture book almost. And it's about the Voyager 1 space mission.
Okay.
And it's told in like 4 chapters. Like one chapter's is about the history. The second chapter, history of astronomy, like history of Western astronomy. The second chapter is the log, so it's kind of like the Voyager's readings and like what it's discovering. And then the third chapter is about the golden record, and the last chapter is a poem that I wrote about like man being lonely and wanting to reach out into space for some kind of connection. Like that's our just innate, like we can't help but do that. They found that and they were like, oh, like, and this was years ago. And they hit me up. They're like, well, would you do something like this for us? And I thought I was going to be doing something like much more academic or like technical. And so they were like, yeah, maybe it could be about black holes or alternate reality. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And so I pitched this idea that was way more just like technical, like that, almost just like Voyage. And then they were like, what if, so it was like a 20-page pitch. They're like, okay, what if it was like 60 pages? And then there was like this 60-page pitch. And then it was like, what if there were more characters? What if this happens? And then it's not even that story anymore. It's like its own, it evolved so much. It's insane. Yeah. So that's kind of how it came about.
I didn't know that they were so like, I guess that's interesting that it came about that way, just because it kind of was organic, but also like pushed along by Nobrow in a way to become something different. I imagine it must have been a lot more like academic in a lot of ways. And then now it's like very not literal. But
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad that it is what it is now. I mean, like, because really, I feel like I might have gotten, I mean, I would have enjoyed making that other book, but I think I also would have been kind of like bored because, like, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have been bored. It would have been different. It just would have been really different. Yeah. This though, I feel like I was able to unpack. They were just like being like, hey, like, instead of us putting you in a box that's this big, like, maybe we should just give you this whole playground. Like, what if you did that instead?
Yeah.
They kind of just like threw the structure out the window.
They're like, let's just unleash Molly.
Yeah. And I think it was kind of apparent in my sketches that I kind of wanted to be unleashed onto something because I was drawing some weird shit, and they were just like, "Oh, like this, we're not really getting black hole, but we're getting something else out of this. What is this?" So yeah, and that process took like, oh my god, I feel like it took like a year and a half just to do that, just to write it.
Wow.
Oh, really?
How long did the book take? Like from, I mean, like roughly from start to finish?
Almost 3 years.
Okay.
Almost 3 years.
That sounds about right.
But I feel like I colored it all in 2 months.
Oh wow.
Oh really?
That was crazed. Yeah. It was nuts.
Sloane's taking notes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it feels like your work. Well, because you work at like ink, and then you're kind of doing like color holds on some of your ink work. Is that how you're coloring it? Like, well, like some of it's color holds, and then some of it's just like painted.
Yeah. So I draw everything with Sumi ink and then scan that in. And then what I do is I isolate the ink onto its own transparent layer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that I can like lock that layer and I can color it whatever color I want. And then I kind of like work underneath it and work on top of it. Yeah. I try to keep those layers organized, but I don't know. It's like, I would send them images. I'm like, please, I hope that you don't have any notes. Luckily, they rarely ever had notes for it, but
I feel like it'd be very difficult to have notes on something like that. It would just be like, like this like non-literal thing is like blank. It's like, what? How do you fix that? Like, how do you change it?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Totally. Yeah, I'm glad that they were kind of hands off on it. I appreciate it. It was just nice just to like, I don't know, just like mess around a little, especially like when I would write, I would give them a sketch, like some of those really abstract pages. I would just write abstract. And then they were like, they're like, well, what's it going to be? And I'm like, I don't know yet. We'll see. Like, it just kind of get to that part. And
the ink will figure it out. The ink will find a way.
Yeah.
I swear you'll love it. I swear. You're going to think it's so cool. Just let me think.
You're like sweating. You're like, oh god! Like, hope it turns out good.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I would get back to it. I would finally get to that part, and I'd be like, "Oh shit! No, why'd I do that to myself? I don't know what goes here. I mean,
it's such a nightmare sometimes. But whatever, it's fine. It turned out really good.
You're like, thanks a lot, Pastel.
Making it harder.
You're like, future self can worry about this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to think about this right now, so I'll. It's abstract. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's abstract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the sketch phases. It'll all come together in the end. It's fine. Yeah.
How rigorous was like your writing like process for this?
So I'll be upfront that I didn't really feel that confident in my writing ability. I just like, I think I do make it's the dialogue. Like I'm just like not comfortable with it. Like this is the first time that I've done it. And I think it shows in some ways. Like it's very much like a first graphic novel. But the story though, like I spent a lot of time writing and like a lot of time like there were so many like parts that I made that I cut. Like they were just cut and because they weren't serving the story in any way. And it was also, it felt rigorous because I was condensing it to 160 pages, which seems like a lot, but it's really not to tell a story. Like, I think, like I've sat with it for a long time and I've thought about it. And I think there's some parts of it that are ambitious, that were like a little too ambitious. where I wanted to do a whole lot. That's just kind of what happens when you're, I guess, jumping between entire realities. But I am happy though with some moments that I wrote that and that came through to some folks who read it, like at least like the tone was coming through, or like the intent of some of the characters and what their purpose was to the story. Like, I'm glad that people like Gloopy. Like, I'm glad that people like Bloom and like that they like the characters.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, I really like Cut. Who's that crow? There's a crow character. They're like, I identify with that character. So just getting those responses was cool. And it made me feel like I did something right, I guess. Yeah.
That's cool. Are you doing like full scripting, or are you mostly doing like outlines, or like what kind of writing did you figure out helps you as you're like starting to like draw the pages?
So I was doing a lot of scripting where there would sometimes be like a couple little paragraphs here and there, like setting a scene if I didn't really know exactly what it looked like in the thumbnails yet. But a lot of it was like me looking at the thumbnails, making a rougher sketch, looking at those rough sketches, and then because I knew what the through action was, like, and then trying to figure out, well, what are they saying? And I know that, and I feel like that's like not always like the best. I mean, because like it was like so long ago. I'm trying to even like remember exactly like what order, because I think like some of it was sketched originally, and then some of it had not been sketched yet, but I was writing it. Like, it was a little all over the place. But yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah, Leslie, do you kind of work from a script, right?
I mean,
like a pretty.
It's like relatively detailed,
script.
but like recently it's been less detailed. And I feel like in my own work, I've been pretty like loosey goosey with everything, where I'll kind of like add things and take them away where I see fit, whether that's good or not. I think it's good to have that like level of being able to change things and like move things around as you see fit. I don't know. I mean, what I was wondering was if you, Molly, do like color keys like as you're thumbnailing, or is it just like, are you just letting yourself go crazy?
Oh yeah, I'm just going crazy. Yeah, I didn't have like a color key really. Like, well, we did do way in the beginning. Like, they were like, if you were to, you know, how do you see this looking, kind of. And I did like one image, and it was just, or I did two. It was the birds with the stone hitting the water like 6 times or whatever. It was like, that was like one splash page, and then another one was of Bloom, or the character that would eventually be Bloom, standing on a shore, and their face like really close, and it was very hot orange and like blue. And then when I actually sat down to color it, I knew I wanted to at least establish like who these characters were and what they looked like in their world. So I gave that to Bloom's section, and then right after that, it's the colors, they get insane. And I kind of that moment was where it was kind of just flowing on its own. But I was also establishing like, this is going to be the palette of the book. Like these primary colors will be the palette of the book. And then I go and jump into Gloopy's section, and I wanted to portray like, this is the color that Gloopy is, like this is like the color of their world. It's purple and yellow, and whereas like Bloom's world is more natural. It's I based it off of when I was going to Vancouver for VanCaf last year, and the sun was setting, and we were like riding on the train from Portland, and it's like so pretty, just like all these oranges, like blues and stuff, and grays, and so I wanted that to be that first section. And it just kind of organically flowed together, I guess.
That's cool.
I would work on like 3 spreads at a time so that I could see the color progression. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the gloopy stuff. I like gloopy.
Nice.
Oh, my gloopy's really cool. They're like a real cutie. Yeah, they're kind of spaz, but they're really
but like in a fun way, you know, like a little destructive, but like in a fun way.
Yeah, totally. I wish I had like even like just 30 more pages just so I can draw Gloopy getting up to stuff and being a weirdo, and it's so cute.
Were they super strict about the page count, or was that kind of just like a predetermined thing that you didn't want to go over?
Well, originally it was only going to be like 80 pages. I think that was like what was in the contract or something. And then it became 160 pages. And I think it was getting to a point where I was like, I'm getting really tired, and I don't know if I can like physically handle this by this deadline. You know, it was just getting to a point where it's like, okay, this is the story and this is how long it is. And, you know, going back, it's like, oh, I wish there was more, but I don't think I, at that time, could have like physically have done it in the amount of time I had. It would have had to have been pushed back further. But yeah.
I mean, I've never done a graphic novel, but I just imagine that doing it all at once, or kind of like, I mean, obviously not doing it all at once, but basically having it come out all at once is very scary. But also like, I mean, it's like
you've done a graphic novel, just it comes out in smaller portions. Like,
I mean, I haven't done like a thing where, you know, you have like, you turn in like 300 pages or something.
Yes, where you go into hiding for years.
Oh yeah, no, it's
you're
horrifying.
You're like, is this okay? Like, I've spent the last 3 years making this.
No, that's literally what it feels like. You're like, am I doing this right? Is this okay? Do you like this? Do you like this? Like, yeah. No, totally. Like, I remember when I went back to PNCA to like help TA at the beginning of the semester. Like, one of my professors, he was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, you like disappeared for a while. Like, you weren't making anything. Like, what happened? Did you just like hit a wall?" And I was like, "No, I was working on a graphic novel." Like, and I couldn't do anything else. That's all I could do. Yeah.
What was like, I don't know, what did this kind of graphic novel fulfill for you? Because it's like, it's young adult, I guess, or is it more middle grade? How are you like choosing to, I guess, market it?
So Nobrow's been saying it's like 12 and up.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are some scary themes in there, and like themes of loss and stuff, but
yeah, true.
But I think though that like a 12-year-old could read it and it wouldn't be too bad. But but I think like what I got from this was just like this opportunity to try and tell, like, to have some space to just like play, I guess, like, and like just do this like lyrical color story that I like to do and that makes me happy. And but then also try something new, which is just writing dialogue, like writing more than 2 characters. Like, I feel like so many of my, like, this is about 2 characters, but all these other peripheral characters, that's new for me. And because so much of my work is about like interpersonal relationships, so it's just natural for me to go with like, okay, here's 1 character, here's 2 character, here's maybe a 3rd character. But with this, it was just like so much more, and now it just makes me want to make more comics with a cast of characters and, you know, people interacting and, you know, the consequences for what they do, and, you know, and also them having goals and ambitions. Like, I feel like I'm going back to when I was in high school and I made OCs and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like, but just like big kid pants, I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah. I'm feeling a desire to do that again, like, which is cool. It makes me happy.
I think it's really fun that you mentioned that, especially so early on. Like, I feel like a lot of people want to, like, not engage with that side of themselves, like, kind of that more, like, a more, like, free-spirited, artsy side, before you, like, became self-conscious about your taste. But I think I mean, I feel like me and Sloan are totally all about like people like kind of going back and forth with like the things that you like now and the things that you liked as a kid, and kind of letting that dictate, like become like a new thing and let it like thrive on its own, I guess. So yeah, I think it's really cool that you're like, I'm gonna make OCs again, or kind of like have that same mentality where it's not like this scary, like horrible thing that you did as a kid, and it's kind of just something that's fun and also like creatively fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's like why it's like why should I feel embarrassed that I was drawing comics with OCs to Coldplay? Like why should I feel bad about that? You know, like that's what I did. That's what I was doing. And this is like just the same. Like I mean, I was listening to so much music while I was making this, and like it was informing the work, and you know, I was venting and letting out a lot of my feelings, and you know, I was like ugly crying with the characters, and just like how I would have done it in high school. And it's like that freedom, like just like that kind of like willingness to let go and just be a little self-indulgent is kind of nice. And you know, I like there was a part of me while I was working on this where I was like, you know, no one, maybe people don't need this, like maybe no one wants this, but I want this, so I should do it. Like I should just do it. Like why not? Like maybe some people will identify with this, maybe some people will like it, you know, and it'll mean something to them, and you know, but I won't know until I try. So but just kind of like making for myself for a second was really good and helped me learn a little bit. So yeah.
What do you think some like challenges were making this book?
Well, the writing, but then also like a big challenge was I didn't want to portray certain characters as like being negative. Like I like specifically like Cut and Lily, who Bloom and Gloopy interact with and spend some time with, because they're obviously going through their own traumas, and I didn't want it to seem like the way that they were processing what they were going through. Like I didn't want it to seem bad of them to handle it the way that they were handling it, I guess. Because Cut is like not to give like way too much away, I mean, but like Cut is like isolation and fear, and then Lily is like also some form of isolation, depression, you know, like, but we all, like so many of us have to, we deal with this on a day to day, and the way that we process that is the way that we process that. And I didn't want people to think I was saying like, oh, like you're like, what are you saying about someone who, you know, wants to retreat into an avatar? Like, why are you saying that that's wrong? And I don't think I was saying that, but it was something I grappled with. I was like, I don't want it to seem, it just wasn't what Gloopy wanted for themselves, or maybe it's not the way that Bloom wanted to handle it for themselves. Like, I wanted to seem like they were each on their own respective journeys, and including the people that they, or the creatures and people that they interact with in the other dimensions. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever, like, or y'all have ever, like, run into being like, oh my God, I don't know how people are going to receive this. Like, how will they view this? How will they read it?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah. I think Leslie has some more experience with that because her work is, like, way more divisive. Because her comic is like mostly about just like people that suck really bad.
I think it's like
they're good characters, but they're also just like
being bad, and also like kind of seeing people be bad and be like, ugh, horrible. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I feel like the judgment, like you can want to portray someone like in the kindest light possible, just because, you know, like, we're artists and we like really have empathy for a lot of different things, I think. But at the same time, people are going to take it how they take it. It's like everyone's projecting onto the work. So yeah, I mean, it is something that is interesting to think about, but I feel like there's kind of no point in going too deep about it, because then you're just never going to make anything. Because you'll be like, oh my god, like, everyone hates this. Like, yeah, well, that's fine. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I felt like there were entire weeks where I was slowing down on writing or something because I was just second guessing myself. And it was like, this would go by faster if I just sent the draft that I have.
Yeah.
So they can give me feedback. Like, instead of sitting here and worrying if it's perfect or not, or if it's the right thing.
Yeah, it's always hard when you're working by yourself and you like kind of get in your head about it. So you're like, oh my god, it's like, this is very like bad or like, I don't know, could be perceived in the wrong way. And I feel like usually editors or people that work in publishing, they're like, whatever, it's cool. Like, it's fine. Unless it's like really like egregiously bad, then you're probably like, oh, it's cool, it's fine. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially in comics, like they're not going to make you edit a comic. They're like, okay, we got to get rid of, we got to print this thing already. It's been 10 years.
Is it done? You're like, yeah. It's out.
Like, okay, good. Where's the letting? Okay, we got it.
Good. Thanks for the PDF. Okay, bye.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, is there any edit?
You're like, I sent in all the finished work.
They're like, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like as when you're like the writer and the artist, you kind of have to like just have to exist in two minds. You have to have one mind that's like anticipating how a reader is going to take something that you write or depict, and then you have to have another mind that's just like, I don't care, like, this is my truth, and I'm going to draw it however I want.
It's also like, you can't, and like, I feel like it's like you can't worry too much about that. It's like it comes out as it comes out. Like, I do think people should fix things if they're really like horrible, like if they're really bad, but we have no idea. We have no idea.
Oh, absolutely,
we're just like, we've gone insane from from staring at pages all day. So like, what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like there were so many moments where I was like coloring even. And I was just like, is this too blue? Is this too blue? Will they be upset? Is this like, will someone read it like this? Or, and I was like, I don't know. But I mean, I'm happy to be considerate and consider my audience, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's part of anything that you like. Of course, you're going to think about who's going to read it. But yeah, no. The more that I dwelled on it, the kind of the slower I was getting, and like but really, it was like I can't keep stalling on this. I have to get this done. It has to be done. So yeah, just got to be confident, I guess. Try to be confident.
Have you guys worked with any like?
Weren't you going to be a sensitivity
readers before?
You've done it, yeah. I have not.
I've done it a couple times. Yeah.
What is that?
So sensitivity reader is someone like, like I did sensitivity reading for these two different novelists, and it was two different fantasy books, and they're kind of based on like Pacific Islander people. Uh-huh. And so they wanted a Pacific Islander to read the book to see if there's anything like insensitive or like racist or like tropey.
They have no idea.
In the book that they wouldn't know because they just aren't Pacific Islanders because they're like, we just don't know. So it was interesting, and I felt kind of bad because like one was like pretty not offensive. It was just like cartoony. Mm-hmm. Like it was just like a caricatured depiction of like this Islander character, and she was the main character, and I was like, this is weird. Like I was like, does this person like have any connection to the islands? Like why'd they even choose to have this main character like be Hawaiian? Like I don't understand. And she's like, oh well, the author like used to go there on vacation and just really feels a connection to the place. And I was like, there was no like deeper understanding there, and I was just like, that makes sense because this character is like really whack.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, it's kind of, it's interesting. I definitely appreciate that they do that. Like this was at a bigger publisher, but it's also like, I don't know. It was such a deeply embedded issue in the book that I'm like, are you even going to change this? Because this is basically going to be like rewriting the whole book.
Pitches where they like pitch it first and then they write it before. Yeah, like I think if it's,
I think they definitely should have done that.
It's messed up, then it's kind of that's a problem. Unless it's like purposely supposed to be that way for some reason, then it's like that's another issue. But if they needed a sensitivity reader for like their main character, I think that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I guess comics could use probably more sensitivity reading at an early stage of the process.
Sensitivity editors.
I don't think people do that as much now. Yeah. For the few publishers that have editing. Yeah. They have editing for like marketing, and that's about it. But
they're like not going to edit a whole book. They edit some copy, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's rough.
I'm interested. What's your process with like editing this book? After you like kind of went through your script, did you like cut out final art that you're like, actually this isn't fitting, or after you kind of finalize your script, were you just like flowing and getting the art out as you went?
So like there were sections. So in the writing, there was like quite a bit of editing of like cutting out scenes, like different universes that they went to that just didn't really serve the story in any way. Mm-hmm. I think I remember there was this one section where like Bloom and Gloopy, they help this like boar person collect ingredients and make a dish together, and it's very cute. It was so cute, and like they invite like their family over. It's like a really Ghibli like looking kind of. It was my jam. It was my shit. But we didn't have it just because it wasn't serving the story in any way. It was just kind of like showing a sweet, tender moment. But then like later when we were actually doing the sketches, once we had most of like the key moments written out and like the dialogue and everything like that, that's where I started, getting these like rough sketches down. And there was a whole section that I sketched and had wrote where like my D&D party were in the game because I was DMing a game kind of around this time when I was doing the writing. It was like this Dark Souls-esque kind of section, and my D&D party were totally in there like fighting a minotaur, and like they're getting caught up in it, and it was really funny, and it was so self-indulgent. And then they were like, this doesn't do anything for the story, you need to cut it. And I was like, no, like I tried all my friends. No. But I did, I cut it. Instead, I still have the sketches. I was thinking I might ink them just for fun because they're so cool, or I think that they're cool, but instead, though, it evolved into a new section because then once we cut that, it was like, oh man, now we're missing pages. So I went in and there was just so much like reworking and moving these sketches around, and like going back again to the script and be like, okay, let's change this part now. And so I brought in the section where it's still like this like Dark Souls-esque area where they're in the castle, and then Bloom sees the dragon outside, and they fall out of the painting and everything like that, hide under the paintings in the boat. And then when I was there, then I was like, oh, and then this dragon is in this next universe, because all the universes are kind of parallel to each other. So there's all these like little visual things that are tied back to wherever they were. So it's like, okay, so the dragon that was here is now Gloria, and Gloria's just chilling and, wants them to play a board game with them. And then Gloria like grabs them and reaches for them the same way then that this cat does earlier. It's just like, so as we did that, then I think the story got a little bit more solidified visually, like with like the pacing, like where they're going, because when you're like, oh, it's so many different universes, you just make all these universes, but it gets like so crazy so fast, and you wind up cutting so many parts. But then once I started finding like these through lines, then I think I was able to like be like, okay, like that's what we're going to stick with. This is the part that we're going to keep, and this is the part that's going to go. So yeah, my editing was a little bit of a mess in general. Like it was all over the place, but hey, it was like a whole new thing.
Yeah, I guess part of like the process is being able to like let things go. So I think it's something that a lot of people are like too precious about every single thing, and when you make comics, you can't be precious about your ideas or like the things you draw. You just have to kind of be like, okay, that's fine. Like if it really doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you have to redo it. So I think it's good to have that like healthy mentality where you're like,
yeah, totally.
It's like even if that idea is like super like important to you and kind of like this fun thing that you really want to do, and it doesn't work, it's still okay. Maybe look forward to Molly's future D&D book.
Yeah. Like, man, when is that gonna happen?
I'm waiting.
Waiting.
Come on, Nobrow, get it together.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Let me make a D&D cooking adventure.
300 pages.
Yeah.
So cute. Full color. Just like this one.
Yeah.
Gloopy will show up somewhere. He's just like,
Gloopy cameo.
Aww.
So, like, at the end of this process, what is like, what are some things that you've taken away, like, in regards to like how you write, how you draw comics, like, and what things are you like, oh, I'm not doing that again, or like that routine or that style or that something didn't work.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think a major thing I'm going to take away is maybe how can I apply these skills that I just learned in doing this over the last few years to something that is maybe a little bit more condensed and smaller, like maybe something just more in my wheelhouse, kind of like. I really like making stories about middle school age and teen and young adult kind of persons, and it's like, okay, then maybe if I go back to doing something kind of like The Worst, almost like with like these, which was about these two swimmers who are on a swim team and they are having a falling out, but their whole conflict is being told through the gossip of other people. And it's like, what if I took some of the things I learned here and brought it over to something like that, like a space where I have a lot of fun getting really abstract and weird with like slice of life or like real life kind of issues. So that's one thing. And then I think then another thing is just trying to have the confidence to like not just do voiceovers over all my images, and just kind of like letting the drawings sometimes like help tell the story. And sometimes it doesn't need any words, and sometimes it doesn't need like me to hold the reader's hand through it. And then something I was joking about with one of my friends was, if this book is like water and fish, and The Worst was that too, like there's all these sharks and minnow kind of imagery things going on, but if my last few books are about like introspective thinking and like, you know, holding yourself back, water, fish, then like the next one I kind of want it to be like, I was thinking like chasing nostalgia, like unhealthy chasing of nostalgia, fire, and then maybe cats, because I've been drawing a lot of cats lately. So I'm making like a Pokemon starter set of comics in a weird way. Who knows what the grass type will be.
Very like committed to a theme in a way.
Interesting.
It's kind of freeform enough that you could be like, I don't know, it is what I said it was.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said it was. I mean, it's just like something, because I think my brain can really quickly go all over the place, and sometimes I need just a little bit of structure to help me, you know, find a footing or get an idea going. Like something I need like weird prompts like that. Like
focus.
Yeah, especially when you're doing all this abstract, weird stuff, like weird visuals. Like I don't want them to just be weird. Like I want them to mean something, and I don't want them to go over the reader's head either. Like I want to use symbols and weird images and abstraction, but in a way that's clear and it isn't like overwrought or anything. Like I still want to be a good communicator to my audience. So yeah.
Leslie, do you have any?
I feel like we covered a lot of it. Because I feel like a lot of what my questions were, like when I was reading the book, I was trying to like, I don't know. I mean, it's like the annoying like artist part of me was like, what did she do? Like, I kind of had an idea of what you did to make the pages, but I don't want to be like assume too many things. But I feel like you kind of covered it. But yeah, I mean, it's a really beautiful book, and I really liked it. It's like very dense, and I like all the textures and the colors, and I thought it was very poignant. And yeah, I mean,
yes, it's beautiful.
I feel like Nobrow is very good at doing these types of like very beautiful and artsy books, and I've always enjoyed that about the books that they choose to put out. And this is not an exception. It was really nice. I liked it.
I agree.
Thank you.
Molly, do you want to tell the listeners when they can get this book and where?
Yeah. So you can pre-order Skip now on the Nobrow site. It also pops up if you Google it on a few other sites. So whatever you're down with, pick your favorite. Just don't pick Amazon. That'd be cool. And then it comes out on July 22nd in the States. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where can people find you if they want to like follow you or check out your site?
Yeah, you can find me at mollymendoza.com. My Instagram handle is msmollym, and then my Twitter is thisismollym.
Do you have any like upcoming shows that you're going to promote Skip or anything, or was it just TCAF? Okay.
Well, I just got back from TCAF, but we're going. Well, I think it might be at SPX, and so I mean, I'm not tabling at SPX, but I was gonna see if maybe there was some way I could be there, but if not, I think that might be it. I know though that we're gonna be having an opening party here in Portland on the 22nd at Land Gallery in North Mississippi. So if you're around, like come by. I might do a reading and then I think I might hang up all the original ink drawings. So yeah, it's going to be kind of cool. And yeah, I work at Land Gallery. I've been there for like 5 years, and they were like, if you don't have the show here, I'm going to be so bummed out. And I was like, no, we'll do it here. It's going to be cool.
Take it so personally.
Yeah. I guess. No.
That's awesome.
No, it's going to be rad. It's going to be super cool. I'm excited.
How big do you work?
For these, I worked almost to size. Like, they were just a little bit bigger than the pages. Yeah. It was like 8 by...
Yeah.
Well, no, not 8. It was like 10 by
relatively
something. You know what I mean?
Size,
it's
not
like
overly huge or tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out Skip when it comes out, guys. It's a really good book. Yeah, so you can check the podcast out on Twitter, at Salt and Honey Pod on Twitter, and you can email us at oh my god. It's been so long since I've done this. I don't remember. saltandhoneypod@gmail.com. You can find me, Leslie, on Instagram as at dairyfree. I guess I'm back on Twitter, so you can find me on Twitter at Leslie Hong. And yeah, Sloane.
Yeah, I'm at Sloane on Twitter, sloaneslow.com, and Sloane Leong on Instagram.
Thank you so much, cool. Molly.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly.
Oh, thank you both so much. That was really fun.
Yay.
Goodbye.